The approach is ending, the residence begins. Welcome to Earth's new age of managed contact. But there's something else I haven't told you yet. Something that happened just hours after that final message from the orbital insertion coordinator that changes everything we thought we understood about Earth's hidden contact protocols and the true nature of our planet's relationship with extraterrestrial intelligence. At 6:23 a.m. this morning, I was reviewing orbital mechanics data when my secure phone rang. The caller ID showed terrestrial coordination entity, designation I'd never seen before, but one that sent chills down my spine given what we'd learned about unknown Earth-based collaborators. Dr. Kaku, this communication originates from the terrestrial contact coordination network that has been facilitating 3I Atlas approach protocols. The voice was unmistakably human, American accent, professional tone, but carrying knowledge that suggested access to information far beyond official channels. I am Dr. Elizabeth Warren, director of a classified program that has been preparing for this contact scenario for the past 7 years. Your designation as primary human liaison was coordinated through our network months ago. My mind raced. Dr. Elizabeth Warren was a name I recognized from NASA's public roster, but this suggested she was operating in capacities that weren't publicly acknowledged. Dr. Warren, what kind of classified program are you referring to? Professor Kaku, in 2018, our deep space monitoring arrays detected the first signals indicating organized approach by extraterrestrial intelligence toward Earth. Since that time, a joint international program has been preparing contact protocols, infrastructure, and personnel for managed first contact scenarios. And the implications hit me like a physical blow. While the public had been debating whether we were alone in the universe, classified programs had been actively preparing for contact with specific extraterrestrial visitors for years. Dr. Kaku, the radio communication exchanges detected by observatories worldwide weren't unauthorized transmissions. They were part of structured contact protocols designed to coordinate 3I Atlas orbital insertion with minimal disruption to Earth's technological and social systems. But Dr. Warren's revelation was just the beginning of discoveries that would redefine our understanding of Earth's cosmic situation and humanity's level of preparation for extraterrestrial contact. Professor, you've been selected for liaison duties, not just because of your scientific expertise, but because your consciousness profile indicates optimal compatibility for direct interface with non-human intelligence. This selection was made through analysis conducted by the Contact Coordination Network. Over the next hour, Dr. Warren briefed me on the existence of what she described as a multinational contact preparation infrastructure that had been operating in complete secrecy since the late 2010s. Professor Kaku, when our deep space arrays first detected structured signals from 3I Atlas in 2018, we immediately began developing response protocols. The approach timeline indicated we would have approximately 7 years to prepare for contact. That preparation included identifying and training human personnel capable of serving as communication bridges. She showed me classified documents that revealed the scope of Earth's hidden contact preparation program. Facilities had been constructed, personnel had been selected and trained, and communication protocols had been developed specifically for contact with the intelligence operating 3I Atlas. Dr. Warren, how many people are involved in this contact preparation network? Approximately 400 personnel across 12 nations, Professor. Scientists, linguists, consciousness researchers, and diplomatic specialists, all selected based on psychological and neurological compatibility profiles for extraterrestrial communication. But the most shocking revelation was yet to come. Professor Kaku, 3I Atlas isn't the first extraterrestrial visitor we've coordinated contact protocols with. This is the fourth managed contact scenario our network has facilitated since 2019. Fourth managed contact scenario. The phrase echoed in my mind as I tried to process what that meant for our understanding of Earth's cosmic situation. Previous contact scenarios involved objects that maintained distance from Earth while establishing communication protocols. 3I Atlas represents the first visitor requesting orbital insertion for extended observation and interaction. Dr. Warren, what happened during the previous contact scenarios? Technology transfer, Professor. Each contact resulted in advancement of human technology and consciousness capabilities that were gradually integrated into our development without public knowledge. The sudden acceleration of artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and consciousness research over the past 5 years weren't entirely human achievements. The implications were staggering. Rapid technological advancement that we'd attributed to human innovation had actually been guided by extraterrestrial contact and technology transfer programs operating in complete secrecy. Dr. Kaku, your role as primary liaison for the 3I Atlas contact will be different from previous scenarios. This visitor has specifically requested direct consciousness interface with human representatives. You've been selected because your neurological profile indicates unusual compatibility for this type of communication. That afternoon, I was transported to a facility I never knew existed. a classified complex hidden beneath the Nevada desert where Earth's contact preparation network had been developing interface technologies and training protocols for extraterrestrial communication. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, the facility's consciousness interface director, briefed me on what would be required for direct communication with the intelligence operating 3i Atlas. Professor Kaku, based on communication analysis conducted during 3i Atlas's approach, we've determined that this intelligence operates using consciousness-based communication protocols. Traditional language exchange is impossible. Direct mind-to-mind interface is required. She showed me interface technology that had been developed through previous contact scenarios, devices that could facilitate consciousness expansion and enable direct neural communication with non-human intelligence. Dr. Mitchell, what are the risks of this type of interface? Based on previous contact experiences, the primary risk is consciousness expansion beyond normal human parameters. Subjects who undergo interface often retain enhanced awareness capabilities that fundamentally alter their perception of reality and consciousness. But Dr. Mitchell's briefing contained information that redefined everything I thought I understood about human consciousness and its relationship to extraterrestrial intelligence. Professor, analysis of the consciousness interface subjects from previous contact scenarios indicates that human awareness is far more adaptable than we previously believed. Enhanced consciousness capabilities appear to be latent potential that can be activated through proper interface protocols. Dr. Mitchell, are you saying that humans have inherent capabilities for consciousness-based communication with extraterrestrial intelligence? Professor Kaku, we're saying that humans may have been designed with these capabilities. The ease with which interface subjects adapt to enhanced consciousness suggests that our neural architecture includes features specifically optimized for communication with non-human intelligence. The possibility that human consciousness had been designed for that call came at 4:17 a.m. on a Friday morning, jolting me from the deepest sleep I'd had in weeks. The voice on the other end belonged to Dr. Rachel Torres from NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, but there was something in her tone I'd never heard before, barely controlled panic mixed with disbelief. Professor Kaku, you need to get here immediately. 3i Atlas just executed a course correction that should be impossible for a natural object, and it's heading directly toward Earth. I was instantly awake, my mind racing. Rachel was NASA's leading expert on orbital mechanics and trajectory analysis, someone who'd calculated paths for dozens of interplanetary missions. If she was calling me at 4 a.m. about impossible course corrections, something had fundamentally changed about our cosmic visitor. Rachel, what kind of course correction are you talking about? The silence stretched for almost 30 seconds. When she finally spoke, I could hear papers shuffling and the background hum of emergency operations. Michio, at 2:47 a.m. GMT, 3i Atlas fired what can only be described as a propulsion system. Not outgassing, not solar pressure effects, active thrust that altered its trajectory by 2.3 degrees. It's no longer following a hyperbolic escape path out of our solar system. My blood went cold. Natural objects don't fire propulsion systems. They follow predictable orbital mechanics governed by gravity and momentum, with only minor variations caused by solar wind or outgassing from volatile materials. Rachel, are you saying this object is under active control? Professor Kaku, I'm saying that 3i Atlas just proved it's not a natural object at all. And based on its new trajectory, it will reach Earth's orbital vicinity in approximately 14 days. But let me tell you what NASA doesn't want you to know about 3i Atlas's deliberate approach to our planet. I arrived at JPL's Pasadena facility 3 hours later to find the place in controlled chaos. Scientists who should have been home sleeping were manning every computer terminal, running calculations and recalculating trajectories with the desperate intensity of people confronting an impossible situation. Dr. Michael Chen, JPL's mission planning director, met me at the security checkpoint with eyes that hadn't seen sleep in hours. Professor Kaku, what we discovered at 2:47 this morning changes everything we thought we understood about interstellar visitors. This isn't just about unusual orbital mechanics anymore. We're dealing with something that's making deliberate navigation choices. He led me to the main operations center, where a massive display showed 3i Atlas's old trajectory versus its new path. The difference was stark and terrifying. Instead of the graceful hyperbolic curve that would carry it safely out of our solar system, the object was now following a trajectory that would bring it into Earth's immediate neighborhood. Michael, show me the exact moment this change occurred. What appeared on the screen defied every principle of natural object behavior I'd studied in 40 years of theoretical physics. At precisely 2:47:23 a.m., GMT 3i Atlas had begun emitting a coherent stream of high-energy particles from its rear hemisphere, not the chaotic outgassing we'd expect from a comet, but a focused, controlled thrust that lasted exactly 47 minutes. The energy output during those 47 minutes exceeded anything we've ever observed from a natural object, Michael explained, pulling up spectroscopic data that showed the propulsion signature. This wasn't random sublimation of volatile materials. This was engineered thrust with precisely calculated vector changes. But here's what made the discovery truly terrifying. The course correction wasn't random. Analysis of the new trajectory showed that 3I Atlas was targeting one of Earth's Lagrange points, gravitationally stable locations where an object could maintain position relative to our planet indefinitely. Professor Rachel said, joining us at the main display, based on current velocity and trajectory analysis, 3I Atlas will arrive at the L2 Lagrange point in 13 days, 18 hours, and approximately 42 minutes. And once it reaches that position, she didn't need to finish the sentence. L2 was the perfect location for long-term observation of Earth, close enough for detailed surveillance, far enough to avoid atmospheric interference, and gravitationally stable enough to maintain position without additional energy expenditure. Rachel, what's the margin of error on that arrival time? That's what's so disturbing, Professor. The precision is extraordinary. We're talking about a navigation accuracy that rivals our most advanced spacecraft guidance systems. This level of precision doesn't occur naturally. But the implications of precise navigation were just the beginning of discoveries that would challenge everything we thought we knew about 3I Atlas and its intentions. That afternoon, I was contacted by Dr. Elena Vasquez from the European Space Agency's Space Situational Awareness Program. Elena's team monitors every object in near-Earth space, tracking potential collision threats and orbital debris that could endanger satellites or spacecraft. Professor Kaku, we need to discuss the trajectory analysis you've been reviewing at JPL. Our independent calculations confirm NASA's findings, but we've detected something additional that's even more concerning. What have you found, Elena? The course correction executed by 3I Atlas wasn't just aimed at reaching L2. Analysis of the propulsion vector and timing suggests the object is planning multiple orbital adjustments. This appears to be the first phase of a complex insertion sequence. She transmitted data that made my hands shake as I reviewed it. The Europeans had detected subtle gravitational perturbations that suggested 3I Atlas was planning a series of maneuvers that would eventually place it in a stable orbit around Earth itself. Elena, are you saying this object intends to become an artificial satellite of Earth? Professor, based on the mathematical models we've developed, 3I Atlas appears to be following a textbook orbital insertion protocol. First, arrival at L2 for observational positioning, then a series of gradual adjustments to achieve stable geocentric orbit. This is exactly how we would approach establishing a permanent research station around another planet. The realization hit me like a physical blow. We weren't just being visited by an object from interstellar space, we were potentially witnessing the establishment of a permanent extraterrestrial presence in Earth orbit. But Elena's revelation was just the first indication of something far more complex than simple orbital insertion. That evening, I received a call from Dr. James Morrison at the Department of Defense's Space Surveillance Network. Morrison's clearance granted him access to military tracking data from facilities whose existence isn't publicly acknowledged. Deep space monitoring arrays designed to detect potential threats long before they reach Earth's vicinity. Professor Kaku, I've been authorized to brief you on some observations that have significant national security implications. Morrison's voice carried the weight of someone dealing with information that challenged fundamental assumptions about planetary security. Sir, our deep space arrays have been tracking 3I Atlas since it entered our outer solar system. The course correction NASA detected wasn't the first propulsion event we've observed. This object has been making subtle trajectory adjustments throughout its approach to Earth. Dr. Morrison, what kind of adjustments? Small course corrections that optimized its approach vector for maximum fuel efficiency and minimal detection probability. Professor, this object has been planning its arrival at Earth for months, possibly years. Every maneuver has been calculated to achieve specific positioning objectives. He transmitted classified tracking data that revealed a pattern of deliberate navigation stretching back to 3I Atlas's first detection. The object hadn't been randomly tumbling through space on a chaotic interstellar trajectory. It had been executing a carefully planned approach sequence designed to bring it into Earth orbit with minimal energy expenditure. Dr. Morrison, if this object has been planning its approach for months, what does that suggest about its objectives? Professor, based on the trajectory analysis and propulsion signatures we've observed, we believe 3I Atlas is conducting a reconnaissance mission with the intention of establishing permanent observation capabilities. This isn't a brief flyby, this is preparation for long-term presence. But Morrison's briefing contained an even more disturbing element. Sir, we've detected what appear to be communication transmissions from 3I Atlas directed toward Earth during its approach. Not random electromagnetic emissions, but structured signals that suggest attempt at contact or data collection. The implications were staggering. If 3i Atlas was not only planning to establish permanent orbit around Earth, but was also actively trying to communicate with us, then we were dealing with an intelligence that had been studying us throughout its approach. Dr. Morrison, what kind of communication attempts are we talking about? Low-frequency transmissions directed at major population centers, military installations, and space-based assets. The signals are too structured to be natural phenomena, but we haven't been able to decode the content. That night, alone in my office, I tried to process the magnitude of what we'd discovered. 3i Atlas wasn't just an unusual visitor from interstellar space. It was potentially an advanced scout for an intelligence that had been planning contact with Earth for an extended period. But the most disturbing realization was yet to come. 3 days after Morrison's briefing, I received a call from Dr. Lisa Park at the Arecibo Observatory Successor Facility in Puerto Rico. Lisa's team operates the most sensitive radio telescopes on Earth, capable of detecting faint signals from across the galaxy. Professor Kaku, we've been monitoring the communication signals Dr. Morrison briefed you about. What we've discovered suggests that 3i Atlas isn't just trying to communicate with Earth, it's receiving responses. My pulse quickened immediately. Lisa, what kind of responses? Structured radio transmissions originating from various locations on Earth's surface, not from any known space agencies or military facilities, but from locations that correspond to major technological centers, research institutions, and communication hubs. She sent me signal analysis that defied comprehension. While 3i Atlas had been transmitting toward Earth, radio telescopes had detected answering signals originating from terrestrial sources, signals that weren't being sent by any known human organization. Lisa, are you suggesting that something on Earth has been responding to 3i Atlas without official knowledge or authorization? Professor, the response signals are coming from locations near major technology centers, but they're not being transmitted by conventional radio equipment. The signal characteristics suggest transmission methods we don't recognize, possibly indicating technology that's been hidden from public knowledge. The implications sent chills through my entire body. If unknown technology on Earth had been communicating with 3i Atlas throughout its approach, then the object's plan to establish Earth orbit might be part of a coordinated contact protocol that involved terrestrial collaborators. But Lisa's discovery was just the beginning of revelations that would redefine our understanding of 3i Atlas's mission and Earth's cosmic situation. Over the following week, I quietly contacted colleagues at observatories worldwide. What I learned painted a picture that was both fascinating and terrifying. The Very Large Array in New Mexico had detected similar response signals. The Parkes Observatory in Australia reported communication exchanges between 3i Atlas and terrestrial sources. Even the Atacama Large Millimeter Array in Chile had logged structured transmissions that suggested ongoing dialogue between the approaching object and unknown entities on Earth. Every major radio astronomy facility on the planet had detected evidence of unauthorized communication between 3i Atlas and terrestrial sources. The scope and coordination of these communications suggested preparation for contact that went far beyond academic curiosity. But here's what terrified me most about this entire pattern. Yesterday, I received a message on the secure channel that had been established for official 3i Atlas communications. The sender was identified as Orbital Insertion Coordinator, a designation I'd never seen before. The message was brief but revolutionary. Dr. Kaku approach sequence proceeding as planned. Lagrange point positioning will be achieved in 72 hours. Terrestrial coordination protocols have been established with appropriate contact entities. Formal communication initiation will commence following orbital stabilization. I stared at the screen, my mind reeling. They weren't just planning to establish orbit around Earth. They had already been coordinating with entities on our planet throughout their approach. But the message continued. Dr. Kaku, your participation in contact protocols has been anticipated. Prepare for direct interface session following orbital insertion completion. Your role as human liaison has been designated based on consciousness compatibility analysis conducted during approach observations. My role as human liaison, they had been specifically observing me throughout their approach, analyzing my consciousness for compatibility with their communication methods, and designating me as a contact point for formal interaction protocols. Professor Kaku, orbital insertion represents transition from reconnaissance phase to active contact phase. Earth observation mission will be succeeded by integration preparation protocols. So your species readiness evaluation will determine contact methodology. This morning I met with Agent Morrison and a joint committee of space agency officials, military representatives, and international security coordinators. The topic, how to respond to confirmed extraterrestrial orbital insertion with coordinated terrestrial contact protocols already in place. Dr. Sarah Kim from the International Space Station program provided the perspective that shaped our discussion. Based on the trajectory analysis and communication evidence, 3I Atlas represents the advanced element of a planned contact scenario. The question isn't whether to establish communication, it's how to manage communication that's already been initiated by unknown terrestrial entities. The debate revealed deep concerns about sovereignty, security, and the implications of contact protocols that had been established without official knowledge or authorization. But General Patricia Hayes from the newly formed Joint Extraterrestrial Response Command provided the assessment that ultimately defined our position. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not dealing with the first contact scenario. We're dealing with a contact scenario that's been in progress for months, coordinated by entities we haven't identified, following protocols we don't understand. As our meeting concluded, I realized that 3I Atlas's approach to Earth wasn't just about establishing orbit for observation. It was about transitioning from covert reconnaissance to open contact, following procedures that had been planned and coordinated with terrestrial collaborators whose identity and objectives remained unknown. Tonight, as I prepare for what might be the most significant 48 hours in human history, I find myself thinking about the nature of contact itself. We've always imagined first contact as humanity reaching out to find others among the stars. But what we're experiencing suggests that contact was initiated long ago, planned by intelligences that understood our technological development timeline and established coordination protocols with entities on Earth we don't even know exist. Tomorrow, 3I Atlas reaches L2 and begins orbital insertion around our planet. Whether that represents the beginning of peaceful contact or something else entirely depends on the nature of the terrestrial entities that have been coordinating its approach and the objectives of the intelligence that has been planning this contact for months or possibly years. But one thing is certain, the age of cosmic isolation is ending and the age of managed contact begins. The reconnaissance phase is complete. The insertion phase begins in 48 hours. And whether we're prepared or not, Earth is about to gain its first confirmed extraterrestrial artificial satellite operated by an intelligence that has been planning this contact long enough to establish coordination protocols with entities on our planet we never knew existed. The question isn't whether they're coming anymore. The question is whether we're ready to discover who on Earth has been helping them prepare for arrival. In 48 hours, we find out whether we've been observers of first contact or participants in a contact scenario that began long before we realized we were being watched. The orbital insertion isn't just about establishing position, it's about transitioning from covert coordination to open contact. And very soon we'll learn whether Earth's first extraterrestrial satellite represents the beginning of peaceful integration or the end of human independence in our own cosmic neighborhood. The approach is ending, the residence begins. Welcome to Earth's new age of managed contact.